Good evening, members and officers of the Council and members of the press and public. I welcome you to this annual meeting of the Council. A bit of housekeeping, as the expression goes. If the fire alarm is activated, please vacate the building via the emergency exits. I would advise that if filming takes place, anyone in attendance in the public area may have their image captured. I urge anyone filming proceedings to avoid filming members of the public, particularly if there are children present. Does anyone intend to film the meeting? I don't see any indications. Any filming or recording will not be permitted for any item of business where exempt or confidential information is considered following the exclusion of the press and public from the meeting. Would everyone present please ensure that their mobile phones are turned to silent and they are not used to make or receive phone calls in the chamber whilst the meeting is in progress. I try not to bring my phone along, actually. So, agenda item number 1, the election of chair. I shall turn this over to the vice chair, and I shall take the opportunity to leave the chamber as I shall be a candidate this evening.
Are there any nominations for the election of chair? Councillor Ashby.
Thank you. I propose Councillor Jason Savage.
Is there a seconder? Thank you.
I second that, Chair.
Councillor Alban.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I nominate Councillor Ralph. Thank you. Or Rolf, sorry.
Is there a seconder? Thank you. Yeah. As there are 2 nominations, I'd like a show of hands, please. Those in favour of Councillor Savage, please raise your hands. Thank you very much. Those in favour of Councillor Rolfe? Any abstentions? 2. I hereby declare that Councillor Savage has been elected to the office of Chair of Thanet District Council for the ensuing year. Congratulations, Councillor Savage. Please now be upstanding whilst the platform party retires for a few minutes in order for the chair to be invested with the chain of badge and office. Or he just comes in. Either way.
Please be seated. I presume I won.
You do? Yes.
Where am I? Right.
Calling upon me now.
Right. Thank you very much indeed. I call upon the Chief Executive at this point.
Thank you. I invite Councillor Savage as the chair for 2022-23 to make the declaration of acceptance of office.
I, Councillor Savage, having been elected to the office of Chairman of Thanet District Council, declare that I take the office upon myself and will duly and faithfully fulfil the duties in accordance to the best of my judgment and ability. And I shall sign. 10th, isn't it?
It's 12.
12th, sorry. Really, what I'd like to say at this point is, having been outside the chamber, of course I had no idea who voted for me and may not have voted for me. And not knowing, I'm therefore in a position to assume they all voted for me, which I'm rather delighted about. And I'm also very pleased to say I'll take the office extremely seriously and undertake the duties to the best of my ability. And thank you for the opportunity of this fourth and what will be, I'm sure, my final year as chairman of this council. My escort for the year will, of course, be my wife, Anne, who is not here this evening. She's a little shy, but nevertheless. Thank you very much indeed, members. Moving on to agenda item 2. Thank you very much indeed. Moving on to agenda item 2, the election of the vice chair. Are there any nominations? Councillor Ashby.
Sorry, Councillor David Hart.
Thank you very much indeed. Do I have a seconder?
Second, Chair.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pugh. Are there any other nominations? I don't see any other nominations. And therefore I declare Councillor David Hart Vice Chairman for this year. Councillor Hart, you can reassume your red sash, scarlet sash. Would you like to say a few words?
No, I need to.
Oh, sorry, yes. I call upon the Chief Executive at this point.
Thank you. I invite Councillor Hart as the Vice Chair for 2022-23 to make the declaration of acceptance of offer.
Councillor Hart, would you like to say a few words and advise who will be your escort?
Yep, thank you very much for the honour again. This is my second year, or start of, and it's a very enjoyable position, I must admit, and thank you very much. And my partner will be Elizabeth Hurst. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Hart. Agenda item 3, apologies for absence. I have received apologies from Councillor Bailey, Councillor Farrance and Councillor Scobie. Are there any other apologies this evening? Yes, Councillor Curry.
Thank you, Chair. I have apologies from Councillor Crittenden, Councillor Whitehead, Councillor Hopkinson, Councillor Ara and Councillor Pat Moore. Was it something I said?
I'm sure not, Councillor Curry. Any other apologies? I don't think so. No. Agenda item 4, declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest this evening? And I don't see any. Agenda item 5, minutes of previous meetings. Agenda item 5A, the minutes of the 31st of March 2022 meeting. I move that the minutes of the meeting of Council held on the 31st of March 2022 be approved. Would the Vice Chair please second?
Second that, Chair.
Do members agree that I sign the minutes as a true record? Thank you. I will do that later. Agenda item 5B, the minutes of the 5th of April 2022 meeting. I move that the minutes of the meeting of Council held on the 5th of April 2022 be approved. Would the Vice Chair please second?
Second that, Chair.
Do members agree? Thank you. Agenda item 5 is announcements, and I do not have any announcements in accordance with the Council Procedure Rule 2.24. Agenda item 7, responsibility for functions and executive delegations. I call upon Councillor Ashby to name cabinet members.
Thank you, Chair. And I'm pleased to announce that for the 22-23 municipal year, Councillor Pugh is to be the Deputy Leader and Cabinet Member for Economic Development. Councillor Robert Bayford, Cabinet Member for Environmental Services and Special Projects. Councillor Jill Bayford, Cabinet Member for Housing. Councillor David Saunders, Cabinet Member for Finance. And Councillor George Cupp, Cabinet Member for Community Safety and Youth Engagement. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ashby. I call upon Councillor Everett to name shadow cabinet members.
Thank you, Chair. And like Councillor Ashby, I've written mine down, but I want to point out I've written them down not because I don't know who my shadow cabinet is, but because I have to remember these job titles. So the shadow deputy leader and shadow cabinet member for housing will be Councillor Whitehead, the shadow cabinet member for finance, Councillor Yates, the shadow cabinet member for environmental services and special projects, Councillor Alban, the shadow cabinet member for community safety and youth engagement, Councillor Keane, and the shadow cabinet member for economic development, Councillor Duckworth. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. Just to say, Council is asked to receive the cabinet portfolios, cabinet portfolio holders, shadow cabinet portfolio holders, operational accountabilities and executive delegated functions, which we have now just done. Agenda item 8, the constitution of committees, political balance, appointments committees, panels and boards. Would members please refer to supplementary agenda number 1. First of all, the number and size of committees. I move that the number of committees and the number of members to serve on those committees as shown in table 2 of the report be adopted subject to the proportionality option agreed upon later in this agenda. Would the Vice Chair please second?
Second that, Chair.
Do members agree? Thank you. Moving on to political proportionality. I'm pleased to say that consensus among group leaders has been achieved, and so therefore I move that Council approves the proportionality between groups for committees, panels and boards as shown in adoption 3 of the report. Would the Vice Chair please second?
Second that, Chair.
Thank you. Do members agree? Thank you. Moving on to nomination of members to serve on committees. Would members please note the nominations to committees as shown in the members' notes, which I presume everyone has got. I have certainly had them. The election of chair and vice chair of committees, panels and boards for the 2022-2023 municipal year. I call upon the leader to move a list of nominations to chair and vice chair positions.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to propose Planning Committee Chair, Councillor Tomlinson, Planning Committee Vice Chair, Councillor Coleman-Cook, Licensing Board Chair, Councillor Banbridge, Licensing Board Vice Chair, Councillor Rogers, Overview and Scrutiny Panel Chair, Councillor Stuart Piper, Overview and Scrutiny Panel Vice Chair, Councillor Fellows, Governance and Audit Chair, Councillor Boyd, Governance and Audit Vice Chair, Councillor Dexter, General Purposes Chair, myself, Councillor Ashby, Joint Transport Board Vice Chair, Maeve Saunders.
Thank you very much indeed. Do members agree?
Agree.
Thank you. My apologies, Councillor Austin.
Chair, could I just ask a question? I noticed on some of the printed documentation the term chairman is still used. Can we ask that that is amended in accordance with the agreement we made about that?
Would you like to make a proposal to that effect then?
May I propose that the term chairman with regard to committees, etc. of this council is changed to chair hereafter? Thank you.
Yes, I understand that and I'm sure we can take that on board. Councillor Piper.
Just if I may, a question please, Chair. Yes, it was suggested that we use non-sexual language, but I think it was also agreed, I'm pretty sure, that it was up to the chair to decide how they wish to be addressed, either as chair or chairman or chairwoman or chairperson. I may be wrong about that, so I'm happy to be corrected by you if I am, Chair.
There's a consensus of opinion up here that that is the case, but with a cert that it would be down to actual individual chair people during that meeting to decide on the address made during that meeting. At this meeting, I'm quite happy to be called chairman. Any meeting that is held, it'll be up to that committee to decide who what the form of address will be. And so whoever is holding a committee meeting will be in a position to make that decision. So I think we can move on from that point. Councillor Austin, you wish to come back in, I think.
Just may I propose, therefore, that all our documentation uses the gender-neutral terminology and then individual arrangements may be made by...
I'm reliably assured that that is already taken into account, Councillor Austin.
Right, okay, so we've got some amends to make to the documentation that went out for this meeting then. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I've lost my...
Oh, the leader.
Yeah, so,
You're here.
so we agreed that.
I'm here, yes.
No, agreed it.
Yeah, we've done that. Yeah, so we're here.
Right.
Yeah.
Thrown me a little bit there, members. Moving on to Standards Committees and Constitutional Review Working Party. I move that Council agrees the appointment of Michael Clark and Carolyn Rushton as independent members of the Standards Committee until Annual Council in 2026. In addition, I further move that Peter Tucker be appointed Chair and Peter Lorenzo be appointed Vice Chair of the Standards Committee and the Constitutional Review Working Party for the 2022-2023 year. Would the Vice Chair please second?
Second that, Chair.
Do members agree? Agenda item 11, representation on outside bodies. I call upon the leader. Councillor Ashby.
Thank you, Chair. I propose that Council agrees the list of executive and non-executive outside bodies and that Council agrees the nominations to the non-executive outside bodies. Cabinet will make the appointments to the executive appointed outside bodies at its next meeting on the 16th of June 2022. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there a seconder? Second, Chair. Councillor Pugh. Thank you. Do members agree? Thank you. Agenda item 12, calendar of meetings. I move that the recommendation as set out in the report be adopted. Would the Vice Chair please second?
Second that, Chair.
Do members agree? Thank you. Agenda item 30, Members' Allowance Scheme for 2022-2023. I move that the East Kent Joint Independent Remuneration Panel's recommendation as set out in the report be agreed. Would the Vice Chair please second?
Second that, Chair.
Do members agree? Thank you. That concludes the business of this annual meeting of the Council.